The vast emptiness of space stretched endlessly beyond the reinforced windows of Outpost Zeta 9. Inside, the hum of life support systems and the occasional ping of distant communications provided the only soundtrack to an otherwise silent existence. For Jake Holloway, this silence had become both a comfort and a curse during his 3-year stint as the station's head of maintenance, or, as he liked to call himself, chief grindfighter of the void. Jake's mop slapped against the metal floor with a rhythmic determination, leaving behind a trail of lemon-scented cleanliness. He paused, leaning on the mop handle to survey his handiwork. The corridor gleamed, a testament to his dedication, if not his career aspirations. At 35, he hadn't exactly planned on being a space janitor, but life had a funny way of steering you off course. A burst of laughter erupted from a nearby recreation room, followed by the clinking of glasses. The sound made Jake wince. Another successful negotiation, no doubt. Zeta 9 served as a neutral meeting ground for various alien species, a place where treaties were signed and alliances forged. Jake's job was to keep it all sparkling clean, invisible, and unnoticed. As he resumed his mopping, a flicker of movement caught Jake's eye. He froze, squinting down the dimly lit corridor. There it was again, a shadow darting between storage crates stacked against the wall. "Hello," Jake called out, his voice echoing. "Someone there?" Silence answered him. Frowning, he set his mop aside and approached the crates cautiously. Probably just another loose servo rat, he thought. The pesky robotic vermin were always finding their way aboard supply ships. But as he peered behind the crates, Jake's breath caught in his throat. Huddled in the corner, eyes wide with fear, was a child. But not a human child. This one had skin that shimmered with an iridescent blue hue, and large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the shadows. "Well, I'll be damned," Jake whispered, crouching down to appear less threatening. "Where did you come from, little one?" The alien child whimpered, pressing further into the corner. Jake noticed it was clutching something, a small crystalline object that pulsed with a soft light. "Hey, it's okay," Jake said softly, holding up his hands. "I'm not gonna hurt you. Are you lost? Where are your parents?" The child's lower lip trembled, and suddenly, Jake felt a wave of emotion wash over him. Fear, confusion, and a deep, aching loneliness. He blinked, startled by the intensity of the feeling. Was it coming from the child? "You're telepathic," Jake murmured in awe. He'd heard of species with such abilities, but had never encountered one. "That's pretty amazing, kiddo." Slowly, carefully, Jake extended his hand. "My name's Jake. I'm the guy who keeps this place clean. Well, mostly clean. You want to come out of there? I promise I'll help you." The child hesitated, those luminous eyes studying Jake intently. Then, with a movement so quick it startled him, the alien darted forward and latched onto Jake's arm. The rush of emotion intensified, relief, hope, and a desperate plea for safety. "Whoa, easy there," Jake said, awkwardly patting the child's back. "It's gonna be okay. We'll figure this out." As Jake stood, lifting the surprisingly light alien child, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor in an ominous glow. "Warning," an automated voice announced. "Unauthorized vessel approaching. All personnel report to designated security zones." Jake's heart raced. He looked down at the child, who was now trembling violently. "They're looking for you, aren't they?" he asked, already knowing the answer. The alien nodded, clutching the crystal tighter. Jake knew he should alert station security. This was way above his pay grade. Hell, it was above anyone's pay grade on Zeta 9. But as he gazed into those frightened eyes, he felt a fierce protectiveness surge through him. "Okay, change of plans," Jake said, his mind racing. "We're getting you out of here." With the alien child clinging to him like a lifeline, Jake hurried down the corridor, his mind whirling with half-formed plans. The maintenance tunnels, they webbed throughout the entire station, allowing access to critical systems. Most of the crew didn't even know they existed. As they reached a junction, Jake heard voices approaching, sharp, angry voices speaking in a language he didn't recognize. He ducked into an alcove, holding his breath as a group of tall, reptilian aliens stalked past. Their scales glinted menacingly under the emergency lights, and each carried a weapon that hummed with barely contained energy. The child buried its face against Jake's shoulder, projecting a wave of terror so strong it made him dizzy. He waited until the aliens had passed, then sprinted to a nearby maintenance hatch. His hands shook as he input his access code, acutely aware of how exposed they were. The hatch slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a cramped tunnel bathed in the glow of status lights. Jake ushered the child inside, then followed, pulling the hatch shut behind them. The alarms were muffled here, reduced to a distant wail. "Okay, we're safe for now," Jake said, trying to project a calm he didn't feel. He looked at the alien child, who was watching him with an unblinking gaze. "I don't suppose you can tell me what's going on." The child tilted its head, and suddenly, Jake's mind was filled with a rapid-fire series of images: a shimmering city of crystal spires, beings with skin in every color of the rainbow, a throne room in chaos, explosions, and a desperate flight through unfamiliar stars. Jake gasped, reeling from the onslaught of information. "You're royalty?" he managed to ask. The child nodded solemnly. "And those guys out there, they're trying to, what? Kidnap you? Hurt you?" Another nod, accompanied by a fresh wave of fear. Jake ran a hand through his hair, trying to process the insanity of the situation. He was a janitor, for crying out loud. He cleaned up other people's messes, not save alien princesses from interstellar coups. But as he looked at the child, this impossibly vulnerable being who had trusted him, he knew he couldn't just walk away. "All right, Your Highness," Jake said with a weak smile. "Looks like you're stuck with me for now. Let's see about getting you somewhere safe." As they began to crawl through the maintenance tunnel, Jake's mind raced with questions. How had the child ended up on Zeta 9? Where were its parents? And what was that crystal it clutched so tightly? But he pushed those thoughts aside, focusing on the immediate problem: escape. The tunnel branched off in multiple directions, a labyrinth of access ways that Jake had memorized over years of repairs and inspections. He led them deeper into the heart of the station, away from the more populated areas, where security would be heaviest. "We need to find a way off this station," Jake muttered, more to himself than his silent companion. "But every ship in the docks will be locked down tight." As if in response to his words, the child tugged on his sleeve. When Jake turned, he saw it pointing insistently down a side tunnel, one that led towards the station's waste management systems. "You want to go that way?" Jake asked, skeptical. "It's just garbage chutes down there, kiddo." Unless. His eyes widened as realization dawned. The garbage pods, small, automated vessels that periodically jettisoned the station's waste into designated disposal areas. They weren't designed for passengers, but in a pinch. "You're pretty clever, you know that," Jake said, grinning despite the gravity of their situation. "All right, let's go play in the trash." They moved as quickly as they could through the narrow tunnels, the sounds of the station in chaos growing more distant. Jake's muscles ached from crawling, and sweat beaded on his forehead, but he pushed on. The child seemed tireless, scampering ahead with surprising agility. Finally, they reached a junction that opened into a larger chamber. The acrid smell of chemicals and decay assaulted Jake's nostrils as he helped the child down. Before them loomed a row of massive cylindrical pods, each easily large enough to hold a person or two. "Okay, this is where it gets tricky," Jake said, approaching a control panel. "These things are on an automated schedule. We need to override the system and—" He was cut off by the sound of a hatch bursting open behind them. Jake whirled to see 3 of the reptilian aliens pouring into the chamber, their weapons raised. "Surrender the child," the lead alien hissed, its forked tongue flicking out menacingly. "Resist, and you will be terminated." Jake instinctively pushed the alien child behind him, his mind racing. They were cornered, outgunned, and out of options. He opened his mouth, ready to try some desperate gambit, when suddenly the air around them began to shimmer. The alien child stepped forward, its eyes glowing with an intense light. The crystal in its hands pulsed brightly, and waves of energy rippled outward. The reptilian aliens stumbled, their weapons clattering to the floor as they clutched their heads in obvious pain. Jake stared in awe as the child's skin shifted, taking on a radiant, golden hue. The air crackled with power, and he felt a surge of something, not just emotion this time, but pure, raw energy. Taking advantage of their attacker's momentary incapacitation, Jake scooped up the child and lunged for the nearest garbage pod. He slammed his hand on the emergency release, and the pod's hatch swung open. "Hold on tight, Your Highness," Jake said, clambering inside with his precious cargo. "This is gonna be one hell of a ride." As the hatch sealed shut, Jake caught a final glimpse of the reptilian aliens recovering, their faces contorted with rage. Then, with a violent lurch, the pod ejected from the station. They tumbled through space, the pod's stabilizers struggling to compensate for the unplanned launch. Through a small viewport, Jake watched Outpost Zeta 9 recede into the distance, a glittering speck against the vast canvas of stars. He looked down at the alien child, who had finally relaxed its death grip on his shirt. Those luminous eyes gazed back at him, filled with trust and gratitude. "You know," Jake said with a shaky laugh, "when I woke up this morning, I really didn't expect to be floating through space in a garbage can with an alien princess. Funny how life works out, huh?" The child's answering smile was like a supernova, radiant, beautiful, and full of possibilities. As the pod's emergency beacon activated, signaling for rescue, Jake realized that his life would never be the same. He had become the protector of something extraordinary, and whatever challenges lay ahead, he would face them head-on. After all, he thought with a grin, what was a little interstellar adventure compared to scrubbing toilets in zero gravity? The garbage pod tumbled through the inky void, its occupants an unlikely pair of fugitives. Jake Holloway, former space station janitor turned impromptu guardian, cradled the alien child as their makeshift escape vessel shuddered and creaked. Quantum turbulence ahead, chirped the pod's rudimentary AI, its cheerful tone at odds with their dire situation. Jake's stomach lurched as they hit the disturbance. Streaks of impossibly vibrant colors flashed past the viewport, reality itself seeming to twist and bend around them. The alien child, whom Jake had started mentally calling Nova, due to her radiant glow, pressed closer to him, her fear palpable. "Hey, it's okay," Jake soothed, even as alarm klaxons blared. "We've made it this far, right? A little space roller coaster isn't going to stop us." Nova's large, luminous eyes met his, and Jake felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. Her telepathic abilities were growing stronger, or perhaps he was just becoming more attuned to them. Either way, the bond between them was deepening with each passing moment. The pod gave a final violent shudder before bursting free of the quantum turbulence. As Jake's vision cleared, his jaw dropped. Before them stretched a massive nebula, its swirling clouds of cosmic dust and newborn stars painting a breathtaking canvas across the void. "Well, I'll be damned," Jake whispered. "The celestial cradle. I've heard stories, but I never thought I'd see it with my own eyes." The celestial cradle was the stuff of space legends, a vast stellar nursery said to be home to wonders and terrors beyond imagination. Some claimed it was a gateway to other dimensions, while others insisted it held the secrets of faster-than-light travel. All Jake knew was that they were now hopelessly off any charted course. As if to punctuate that thought, the pod's systems began to fail. Lights flickered, and the hum of life support grew erratic. "Warning. Critical power failure imminent," the AI announced, still sounding frustratingly chipper. "Initiating emergency protocols." "What emergency protocols?" Jake demanded. "You're a garbage pod." In response, a panel slid open, revealing two sleek, silver suits. Emergency void suits detected, the AI replied. Please secure all occupants before pressurization failure. Jake's eyes widened. You've got to be kidding me. With fumbling hands, he helped Nova into one of the suits, marveling at how it seemed to shrink and adapt to her small frame. As he donned his own suit, Jake couldn't help but wonder who had designed a garbage disposal unit with such advanced safety features. No sooner had the helmets sealed than the pod's hull breached with an ear-splitting screech. Jake clutched Nova tightly as they were sucked into the swirling maelstrom of the nebula. They tumbled end over end, the suit's thrusters firing automatically to stabilize them. Jake's heart pounded in his ears as he watched the pod disintegrate, scattering into the cosmic winds. They were alone now, two tiny specks adrift in the vastness of space. Okay, don't panic, Jake muttered to himself. We're just floating in an uncharted region of space with limited oxygen and no way to call for help. No big deal. Nova tugged at his arm, pointing insistently at something in the distance. Jake squinted, then gasped. A massive structure loomed before them, its architecture unlike anything he'd ever seen. Crystalline spires twisted impossibly, defying the laws of physics. Streams of energy flowed between the spires, forming intricate patterns that pulsed with life. Is that a space station? Jake asked incredulously. Nova's excited thoughts flooded his mind. Not a station, but a ship. An ancient vessel of her people, long thought lost to the ages, the Starwaver. As if drawn by an unseen force, they began drifting towards the colossal ship. Jake's suit crackled to life, a gruff voice cutting through the static. Unidentified life forms detected, the voice announced. State your intentions or be atomized. Jake swallowed hard. Hello there. We're refugees seeking sanctuary. I've got a child with me, and we're in desperate need of assistance. A long pause followed, during which Jake was acutely aware of the limited oxygen supply in their suits. Finally, the voice returned. Genetic and psionic scans complete. Royal biosignature detected, initiating emergency retrieval. A beam of swirling energy engulfed them, and Jake felt the peculiar sensation of his atoms being gently pulled apart and reassembled. In a blink, they materialized in a vast, shimmering chamber. The suits dissolved around them, revealing a breathable atmosphere. Jake steadied himself against a nearby console, his head spinning from the teleportation. Nova, on the other hand, seemed entirely unfazed. She twirled in place, her skin shifting through a rainbow of colors in apparent delight. Welcome aboard the Starwaver, a melodious voice announced. A holographic figure shimmered into existence before them, a tall, elegant being with features that seemed to blend the best aspects of countless species. I am Aria, the ship's AI custodian. It has been precisely 10,247 standard years since our last organic visitor. Jake's mind reeled. 10,000 years. How is that possible? Aria's form rippled, displaying star charts and timelines. The Starwaver exists in a state of temporal flux, young one. We drift through the cosmos, untethered by conventional spacetime. It is our blessing and our curse. Nova stepped forward, her small hand reaching out to touch Aria's holographic form. A surge of energy passed between them, and Aria's eyes widened in surprise. I see, the AI said softly. You carry a great burden, little princess. The fate of your people rests upon your shoulders. Jake knelt beside Nova, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. What do you mean? What's going on? Aria's gaze settled on Jake, filled with a wisdom that seemed to span eons. Your young charge is the last of the Luminary royal line. Her people, once peaceful explorers and guardians of cosmic balance, have fallen to corruption and tyranny. The usurpers who now rule seek to harness the child's latent powers for their own nefarious purposes. Nova's small frame trembled, and Jake felt a flood of images and emotions. The coup that had overthrown her family, the desperate flight across the stars, the constant fear of discovery. His heart ached for all she had endured. Well, "They'll have to go through me first," Jake declared, surprising himself with the fierceness in his voice. Here he was, a washed-up janitor making grand proclamations about protecting an alien princess from intergalactic threats. Life really did have a way of throwing curveballs. Aria's holographic form smiled, a hint of approval in her ageless eyes. "Your devotion is admirable, Jake Holloway, but the challenges that lie ahead will require more than just courage. You must both evolve if you hope to survive what is to come." The chamber around them began to shift and change, walls becoming transparent to reveal the swirling beauty of the nebula beyond. Streams of energy coalesced into floating platforms and shimmering interfaces. "The Star Waver is more than just a ship," Aria explained. "It is a crucible of transformation, a place where potential is unlocked and destinies are forged. Here, you will learn to harness powers beyond your wildest imagination." Jake's head spun with the implications. Wait, you're saying we're going to get superpowers?" Aria chuckled, the sound like tinkling crystal. "In a manner of speaking, yes. The Luminari have always possessed latent psionic abilities, but few have ever reached their full potential. As for you, Jake, your human adaptability makes you an ideal candidate for augmentation." Before Jake could process that ominous statement, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Aria's form flickered, her expression growing grave. "It appears your pursuers are more resourceful than anticipated," she announced. "A Void Reaver battlecruiser has entered the nebula. Their weapons are charging." Jake's blood ran cold. He'd heard whispers of the Void Reavers, ruthless mercenaries who would stop at nothing to complete a contract. If they were involved, the stakes were even higher than he'd realized. Nova clutched Jake's hand, her fear a palpable thing. But beneath the terror, he sensed something else, a steely determination that belied her young age. "Okay," Jake said, squaring his shoulders. "What do we need to do?" Aria's form expanded, enveloping them in a cocoon of swirling light. "We must awaken your latent abilities. The process is not without risk, but it is our only hope of survival." Jake looked down at Nova, seeing the trust shining in her eyes. He nodded, a sense of calm settling over him. "All right, let's do this." The world around them dissolved into pure energy. Jake felt his consciousness expanding, touching the very fabric of space-time. Cosmic secrets unfurled before him like the petals of an impossible flower. Beside him, Nova's form shifted and grew, her true potential blossoming. The crystal she had clutched so tightly merged with her being, becoming a part of her very essence. As the transformation neared its peak, a violent tremor shook the ship. The Void Reavers had begun their assault. "Hurry," Aria's voice echoed through their minds. "You must complete the awakening. The fate of countless worlds hangs in the balance." With a final surge of power, the cocoon of energy shattered. Jake stumbled, catching himself against a nearby console. He flexed his fingers, marveling at the crackling arcs of energy that danced across his skin. Nova stood tall, her diminutive form now radiating an aura of pure starlight. Her eyes, once wide with childlike wonder, now held the wisdom of galaxies. "Well," Jake said with a nervous chuckle, "this is new." Before either of them could fully process their transformation, the viewscreen blazed to life. A towering figure clad in obsidian armor glared at them, its eyes burning with malevolent fire. "Surrender the child," the Void Reaver commander growled, "or we will reduce this ship to cosmic dust." Jake stepped forward, energy coursing through his veins. He met the commander's gaze without flinching, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "You know," he said, cracking his knuckles, "I was really hoping you'd try to do this the hard way." As the Void Reaver ships opened fire, Jake felt the power of the cosmos itself flowing through him. Nova raised her hands, weaving shields of pure starlight around the Star Waver. The battle for the fate of galaxies had begun, and at its center stood an unlikely pair, a former janitor and an alien princess, bound by destiny and the unbreakable bonds of friendship. Aria's voice echoed through the ship, filled with a hope that had been absent for millennia. The legend reborn, the balance restored. The cosmic crucible has been ignited once more. As energy beams lanced through space and reality itself buckled under the weight of the conflict, Jake couldn't help but grin. He'd wanted a change from his mundane life, and the universe had certainly delivered. "All right, Nova," he said, cosmic fire blazing in his eyes. "Let's show these Void Reaver creeps what happens when they mess with the wrong cleaning crew." With a shared laugh that seemed to make the very stars resonate, Jake and Nova plunged into the fray, their destinies irrevocably intertwined and the fate of countless worlds hanging in the balance. The void erupted in a dazzling display of power as Jake and Nova faced off against the Void Reaver armada. Streams of cosmic energy coursed between the ships, painting the nebula with ethereal light. "Quantum flux capacitors at maximum," Jake shouted, his newfound knowledge of advanced technology flowing through him like a second language. His hands danced over holographic controls, weaving intricate patterns of defense and offense. Nova, her form now a swirling vortex of starlight, communicated telepathically. "Jake, we need to harmonize our psionic frequencies. It's the only way to penetrate their dark matter shields." Jake nodded, marveling at how naturally he understood concepts that would have been incomprehensible mere hours ago. "Got it, kiddo. Let's show these cosmic bullies what we're made of." As they synchronized their powers, the Starweaver hummed with newfound energy. Aria's voice resonated throughout the ship, initiating hyperdimensional resonance cascade. Brace for reality distortion. The space around them warped and twisted, fractal patterns blooming across the view screens. Jake felt a rush of exhilaration as his consciousness expanded, touching the very fabric of the universe itself. "Whoa," he breathed, "is this what it feels like to be a god?" Nova's laughter echoed in his mind. "Not quite, but it's close. Now focus. We need tow." Her words were cut off as a massive energy beam from the Void Reaver flagship sliced through their defenses, rocking the Starweaver violently. "Hull breach in sectors 7 through 13, Aria announced, her usually calm voice tinged with urgency. "Quantum foam containment failing." Jake gritted his teeth, reaching out with his newly awakened senses to assess the damage. "Nova, I need you to stabilize the ship's core. I'll handle these oversized space bullies." As Nova turned her attention inward, using her psionic abilities to knit the very fabric of the ship back together, Jake faced the looming threat head-on. "All right, you intergalactic party crashers," he muttered, cracking his knuckles. "Let's dance." With a thought, Jake tapped into the Starweaver's weapon systems. But these were no ordinary armaments. Beams of concentrated possibility lanced out, altering probability itself around the enemy's ships. Some Void Reaver vessels simply winked out of existence, while others found themselves transmuted into harmless clouds of space dust. The Void Reaver commander's face appeared on the view screen, his obsidian armor cracking to reveal the seething darkness beneath. "What manner of witchcraft is this?" he snarled. "No mere mortal can wield such power." Jake couldn't help but grin. "Well, buddy, I guess today's your lucky day. You get to be the first to witness the birth of something new in this universe." As he spoke, Jake felt a surge of energy unlike anything he'd experienced before. The cosmic power flowing through him reached a fever pitch, and suddenly he understood. "Nova," he called out, both aloud and mentally. "I know what we need to do." The young princess reappeared at his side, her form solidifying from pure light. "I feel it too," she said, her voice resonating with newfound strength. "The cosmic crucible, it's not just a legend, it's us." Together, they reached out, their powers intertwining in a double helix of cosmic energy. The Starweaver shuddered, then began to transform. Its crystalline spires elongated, forming intricate patterns that mirrored the very structure of the universe. Aria's voice filled the chamber, suffused with awe. "The prophecy, it's coming true. The Star Child and the cosmic custodian, united to restore balance to the cosmos. The Void Reaver fleet, realizing the tide had turned, began a desperate assault. Dark energy torpedoes and antimatter missiles rained down upon the Starwaver. But Jake and Nova stood unflinching, their combined power creating an impenetrable shield of pure possibility. Each attack was not just deflected, but transmuted, turned into bursts of creative energy that rippled across the nebula, seeding new stars and worlds. Enough of this, Jake said, his voice carrying the weight of newborn galaxies. It's time to end this conflict and bring a little light to the darkness. With a shared thought, Jake and Nova unleashed the full potential of the cosmic crucible. A wave of purifying energy swept outward, engulfing the Void Reaver fleet. But instead of destroying the ships, it transformed them. The darkness that had corrupted the Reavers was burned away, leaving their true selves exposed. The obsidian armor crumbled, revealing beings of light not unlike Nova's people. Confused and disoriented, they stared at their own hands in wonder. What have you done to us? The former Void Reaver commander asked, his voice now free of malice. Nova stepped forward, her gentle presence filling the command chamber. We have freed you from the corruption that bound you. The darkness that festered in the heart of the cosmos for eons has been cleansed. Jake nodded, feeling a profound sense of rightness settle over him. You have a choice now. Continue down the path of destruction, or join us in bringing balance and harmony to the universe. The commander hesitated for a moment, then bowed his head. We would be honored to serve the cosmic crucible. As the former Void Reavers pledged their allegiance, Ares' holographic form expanded, filling the chamber with a warm, golden light. The cycle is complete, she announced. The Starweaver's true purpose has been fulfilled. With the cosmic crucible awakened, a new age of exploration and growth can begin. Jake turned to Nova, seeing his own mix of excitement and trepidation mirrored in her eyes. So, what now, kiddo? We've got a whole universe to explore and balance to maintain. Nova's smile was radiant. Now, Jake Holloway, we embark on the greatest adventure of all, shaping the destiny of countless worlds and civilizations. As if in response to her words, the view screens came to life, showing hundreds of distress signals from across the cosmos. Planets in peril, species on the brink of extinction, cosmic anomalies threatening to tear reality apart, all calling out for the aid of the newly awakened cosmic crucible. Jake couldn't help but laugh. Well, I guess our dance card is full for the foreseeable future. You know, when I took this job as a space janitor, I never imagined I'd end up as some kind of cosmic caretaker. The universe works in mysterious ways, Aria chimed in, her tone light. Though I must say, Jake, your janitorial skills may come in handy. The cosmos can be quite messy at times. As they shared a moment of levity, a new alert caught their attention. A massive gravitational anomaly was forming at the edge of the nebula, threatening to collapse the entire region into a supermassive black hole. Looks like our first big test, Jake said, cracking his knuckles. Ready to save a few trillion lives, Nova? The young princess nodded, her determination palpable. Always. Though perhaps we should come up with some sort of catchy team name. The Cosmic Cleaners. The Galactic Guardians. Jake grinned as they prepared to face their next challenge. How about we workshop that while we're preventing a cosmic catastrophe? With a shared laugh, the unlikely duo, a former janitor and an alien princess, set off to tackle their first crisis as the newly minted guardians of cosmic balance. The Starweaver surged forward, its crystalline form glittering with possibility. As they approached the growing anomaly, Jake felt a sense of purpose unlike anything he'd ever known. He might not have chosen this path, but now that he was on it, he wouldn't have it any other way. All right, universe, he said, cosmic energy crackling at his fingertips. Bring it on. The cosmic crucible is open for business. Nova giggled, the sound like tinkling stardust. And our rates are very reasonable. One balanced cosmos, coming right up. As they plunged into the heart of the gravitational maelstrom, Jake realized that his life had become something straight out of the wildest science fiction tales. But this was no story. This was his new reality. And with Nova by his side, and the power of the cosmic crucible flowing through them, he knew that they were ready for whatever the universe might throw their way. The adventure had only just begun, and the cosmos would never be the same again. The Starweaver hurtled through the quantum foam, its crystalline structure pulsing with otherworldly energies. Jake and Nova stood at the helm, their forms shimmering with barely contained power as they faced their latest galactic crisis. Chronometric particles at critical mass. Aria's voice rang out, tinged with urgency. The temporal anomaly is expanding exponentially. Before them, reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. A massive temporal rift tore through the fabric of spacetime, threatening to unravel entire star systems. Well, that's not something you see every day, Jake quipped, his newfound cosmic awareness struggling to process the mind-bending sight. Any ideas, Nova? The young princess, her form now a swirling vortex of starlight and possibility, communicated telepathically. We need to stabilize the quantum fluctuations before the causality cascade becomes irreversible. Jake nodded, marveling at how concepts that would have been incomprehensible to him mere weeks ago now felt as natural as breathing. Right, no pressure. Just got to keep the entire universe from falling apart. Tuesday as usual, huh? As they prepared to tackle the crisis, a familiar face appeared on the view screen. Dr. Zara Quark, a brilliant but eccentric quantum physicist they had rescued from a collapsing dwarf star, looked frazzled. "Thank the infinite improbability drive you're here," she exclaimed, her wild hair seeming to defy gravity even through the holographic projection. "My experiments with the Schrödinger equation generator might have gone a teensy bit awry." Jake couldn't help but groan. "Doc, we talked about this. No more playing with the fundamental forces of reality without adult supervision." Dr. Quark had the decency to look sheepish. "Yes, well, in my defense, I was an adult when I started. But then I accidentally reversed my own aging process, and, oh dear, is that a quantum singularity forming in Sector 7. Nova's mental voice cut through the chaos. "Jake, we don't have much time. We need to harmonize our psionic frequencies and create a temporal stabilization field." "On it, kiddo," Jake replied, reaching out with his cosmic senses. You could feel the fabric of reality straining around them, timelines tangling and fraying like cosmic threads. As they synchronized their powers, the Starweaver hummed with newfound energy. Streams of pure possibility flowed from Jake and Nova, weaving a complex tapestry of spacetime around the rift. Initiating quantum recalibration sequence, Aria announced. "Brace for dimensional shift." The universe seemed to hold its breath for a moment. Then, with a sound like a trillion bells ringing in perfect harmony, the temporal rift began to close. "It's working," Dr. Quark cheered, her youthful face alight with scientific glee. "The causality loops are stabilizing and... oh my." Jake felt a surge of apprehension. "I don't like the sound of that, oh my, Doc. What's happening?" Before Dr. Quark could respond, reality hiccuped. The view screen filled with a kaleidoscope of alternate timelines, each one showing a different version of Jake and Nova. "Fascinating," Dr. Quark exclaimed. "It appears we've tapped into the multiverse." "Oh, look at that one. Jake, I think you're a space pirate there. Quite dashing with the eye patch." "Focus, Doc," Jake groaned, trying to maintain his concentration on closing the rift. "How do we fix this?" Nova's mental voice was strained but determined. "We need to find the prime timeline, the one that serves as an anchor for all the others. If we can stabilize that, the rest should fall back into place." As they sifted through the myriad of alternate realities, Jake couldn't help but marvel at the paths not taken. In one, he was still a janitor, blissfully unaware of the cosmic drama unfolding around him. In another, he and Nova led a rebellion against a galactic empire. "There," Nova suddenly exclaimed. "I can feel it, the prime timeline. It's Oh. Jake followed her gaze and felt his heart skip a beat. In the prime timeline, he saw himself, older, warier, but undeniably him, cradling a lifeless Nova in his arms. No, he whispered, his cosmic power faltering for a moment. That can't be right. There has to be another way. Dr. Quark's voice cut through his shock. Remember, Jake, what we're seeing isn't set in stone. The act of observing these timelines changes them. You have the power to shape reality itself. Nova's presence in his mind was a beacon of warmth and determination. She's right, Jake. We're the cosmic crucible. We don't just maintain balance, we create it. With renewed purpose, Jake reached out with his powers, intertwining them with Nova's. Together, they began to weave a new timeline, one that drew upon the best elements of all the realities they had witnessed. The Starweaver shuddered as reality reshaped itself around them. Jake felt the weight of infinite possibilities pressing down upon him, threatening to crush his very essence. But Nova's unwavering presence anchored him, reminding him of who he was and what they fought for. Quantum coherence achieved, Aria announced, her voice filled with awe. Timeline consolidation in progress. With a final surge of effort, Jake and Nova sealed the temporal rift. The kaleidoscope of alternate realities collapsed into a single stable timeline. As the cosmic dust settled, they found themselves back in familiar space, the crisis averted. Dr. Quark's face reappeared on the viewscreen, her expression a mix of relief and scientific curiosity. Remarkable. You've not only stabilized the temporal anomaly, but created an entirely new quantum reality baseline. The implications for future research are staggering. Jake slumped into the captain's chair, feeling the weight of their cosmic responsibility more keenly than ever. Yeah, well, maybe we hold off on the reality-bending experiments for a while. Okay, Doc. I could use a vacation. Do cosmic entities even get vacations? Nova, her form solidifying back into her more familiar appearance, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. I think we've earned one. Besides, there's a whole new universe out there for us to explore now. As if on cue, Aria's holographic form materialized before them. If I may make a suggestion, there's a delightful little planet in the Andromeda galaxy that's just invented something called ice cream. Might I recommend it for your recuperation? Jake couldn't help but laugh. Ice cream across the universe? Now that sounds like my kind of mission. As they set coordinates for their well-deserved break, Jake marveled at the journey that had brought him here. From a lowly space station janitor to a cosmic being capable of reshaping reality itself, life certainly had a way of surprising you. Hey Nova, he said, a mischievous glint in his eye. Think we can use our powers to create the ultimate flavor? I'm thinking. Quantum ripple with multiverse swirls. Nova's laughter, like the chiming of distant stars, filled the bridge. I thought we agreed to take a break from reality-bending experiments. Ah, but this is for the greater good, Jake insisted solemnly. The universe needs perfect ice cream. It's our duty as cosmic guardians to provide it. As the Starweaver cruised towards their destination, Jake reflected on the incredible turn his life had taken. He may not have chosen this path, but now, with Nova by his side and the infinite cosmos stretched out before them, he wouldn't have it any other way. The universe, in all its vast and chaotic glory, had become their playground, and they were just getting started. You know, Jake mused, his eyes twinkling with cosmic light, I think we finally found our team name. Nova raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh, do tell. With a grin that could outshine a supernova, Jake declared, from now on, we're the quantum quixotes, tilting at cosmic windmills and making the universe a weirder, more wonderful place, one crisis at a time. As Nova's laughter echoed through the ship and the stars streaked by outside, Jake knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. The cosmic crucible was lit, the balance of the universe was in their hands, and there was ice cream waiting to be tasted. Life, Jake decided, couldn't get much better than this. The Starweaver's sleek form shimmered into existence above a planet that defied description. Its surface was a kaleidoscope of ever-shifting colors, with spiraling towers that seemed to be made of pure light and sound. "Welcome," Aria's voice chimed, "to Zenith Prime, the nexus of entertainment for 17 galaxies." Jake whistled low, his eyes wide with wonder. "Now that's what I call a vacation spot. What do you think, Nova?" Ready to see how the rest of the cosmos kicks back and relaxes. Nova, her skin rippling with excited hues, nodded enthusiastically. "I've heard tales of Zenith Prime, but I never dreamed I'd actually visit. They say time moves differently here, that a single night can feel like a lifetime of adventures." As they prepared to teleport down to the surface, a holographic notification popped up before them. Jake read it aloud, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Attention cosmic entities. Your presence is requested at the Grand Nexus Arena for a special edition of Who Wants to Win a Multiverse. Please present yourselves to Zix the Ineffable, Master of Ceremonies, upon arrival." Jake and Nova exchanged puzzled glances. "A game show?" Jake asked. "Should we be worried?" Nova shrugged, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Why not? We've reshaped reality and battled temporal anomalies. How hard could a little cosmic quiz be?" Oh, how wrong they were. The Grand Nexus Arena was a structure that boggled the mind. It seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, with audience members from every conceivable species, and quite a few inconceivable ones, filling seats that wrapped around in impossible geometric patterns. Zix the Ineffable lived up to his name. He appeared to be a being composed entirely of question marks, his voice somehow managing to be both booming and whispered at the same time. "Welcome, welcome," Zix announced as Jake and Nova were ushered onto the stage. "Our special guests have arrived, the Cosmic Crucible themselves, here to play for the grandest prize in all of existence." The crowd erupted in cheers, the sound rippling through multiple realities. "Now," Zix continued, "the rules are simple. Answer cosmic conundrums correctly, and you move closer to winning your very own multiverse to shape as you please. Answer incorrectly, and well, let's just say the consolation prizes are rather existentially challenging." Jake gulped. Nova, I'm starting to think we should have stayed on the ship." But it was too late. The first question flashed before them in letters made of pure starlight. "In the Grand Cosmic Ballet, what dance does entropy prefer? A. The Chaos Cha-Cha, B. The Heat Death Hustle, C. The Quantum Quickstep, or D. All of the above, but only on Tuesdays in dimensions with prime-numbered laws of physics." Nova's brow furrowed in concentration. "Well, according to the fifth transdimensional accord of D," Jake blurted out. "Final answer." Zix's question mark form quivered with delight. "Correct. But can you explain your reasoning to our interdimensional audience?" Jake grinned sheepishly. "Well, you see, back when I was a janitor, I noticed that the really weird messes always happened on Tuesdays. Figured the universe works the same way on a bigger scale." The crowd went wild, and Jake could have sworn he saw a few tentacled beings exchanging what looked suspiciously like cosmic currency. As the game progressed, the questions became increasingly bizarre and reality-bending. They navigated ethical dilemmas involving time-traveling sandwiches, calculated the moral weight of hypothetical particle zoo escapees, and even had to perform a 5-dimensional interpretive dance to explain the social structure of quantum foam. Through it all, Jake and Nova's unique blend of cosmic wisdom and down-to-earth, or down-to-space station, practicality served them well. They were neck and neck with a hyper-intelligent shade of blue from the Horsehead Nebula as they entered the final round. For the grand prize, Zix intoned, his form shimmering with anticipation, "A multiverse of your very own. Answer me this. What is the ultimate question to the ultimate answer of life, the universe, and everything?" The arena fell silent. Jake and Nova huddled together, their minds racing through countless possibilities. "It can't be that simple, can it?" Nova whispered. Jake nodded slowly, a smile spreading across his face. Sometimes, kiddo, the most profound truths are the simplest ones. They turned to Phase 6 and in perfect unison declared their answer. Why? For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the entire arena began to shake. Lights flashed, reality rippled, and Zix the Ineffable exploded into a shower of exclamation points. Correct. His voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. In all my years of hosting, never has the true answer been given. You truly are the cosmic crucible, bringers of balance and seekers of the most fundamental truths. As the crowd's cheers reached a reality-warping crescendo, Jake and Nova found themselves enveloped in a bubble of pure possibility. Before them stretched an infinity of potential universes, each one waiting to be shaped by their imagination. So, Jake said, turning to Nova with a grin, what should we do with our very own multiverse? Water park? Cosmic petting zoo? Oh, I know. The ultimate ice cream parlor with flavors that alter the laws of physics with every lick. Nova laughed, the sound setting newborn stars twinkling in their fresh universe. Why choose? We have eternity to explore and create. Although, she added with a mischievous glint, I do like the ice cream idea. As they prepared to embark on their greatest adventure yet, being cosmic architects and custodians of their very own reality, Jake couldn't help but reflect on the bizarre path that had led him here. You know, he mused, when I signed up to be a space janitor, I thought the biggest excitement in my life would be finding new and interesting ways to scrub space toilets. Now look at us, winners of multiversal game shows, shapers of realities. It's been one hell of a ride, kiddo. Nova's form shimmered with affection. And it's only just beginning, Jake. After all, with great power comes great responsibility and great ice cream. Ain't that the truth, Jake agreed. Now let's see about adding some chocolate chips to that quasar over there. I have a feeling our flavor combinations are going to redefine the very concept of taste. As they set off to mold their new domain, the Star Weaver hovered nearby, a silent guardian of the cosmic crucible and their delicious, reality-bending creations. In the distance, Zix the Ineffable reformed, watching the newborn multiverse with what could only be described as a proud, questioning smile. Now that, he mused to himself, is going to make for one interesting season finale. The curtain fell on the greatest danger in the cosmos, but for Jake and Nova, the real show was just beginning. Their laughter echoed through the newborn reality, a promise of wonders yet to come and flavors yet to be tasted. And somewhere, in a distant corner of their multiverse, a perplexed janitor looked up from his mop, feeling a strange urge to question everything, and maybe, just maybe, to try his hand at making some truly cosmic ice cream. The end, or perhaps just the beginning of a whole new reality of adventures.